You know, in high-stakes manufacturing, there's this practice that feels like a smart shortcut, but it just might be the biggest hidden cost on your books. We're talking about learning on the job, and today, we're going to pull back the curtain and expose its true and often staggering price. So let me ask you a question. What do you think is the single most expensive mistake a manufacturing company can make? Is it buying the wrong piece of equipment? A bad sales forecast? Well, what if I told you the answer is usually hiding in plain sight, right there on your factory floor? And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. That whole idea of, just put them on the line, they'll figure it out. That's not just inefficient, it is financially dangerous. So let's break down exactly why. First up, the most immediate risk is what I call the domino effect. This is where one single tiny gap in an operator's knowledge doesn't just stay a small problem. Oh no, it triggers a massive chain reaction with some pretty major consequences. It all starts with something that seems so simple. Picture this, an operator. Maybe they're new or maybe they just weren't formally trained on one specific process, selects the wrong furnace recipe. It seems like a minor clerical error, right? A simple slip-up. But that one little mistake means an entire batch of parts, and we're often talking about high-value components for industries like aerospace or automotive, is now completely useless. The whole thing has to be scrapped. A total process failure from a single click. And here's the kicker. That one click of a button can instantly cost tens of thousands of dollars. A single failure like this can wipe out an entire year's worth of the labor savings you thought you were getting by skipping out on formal training. Just gone. And it's not just about picking the wrong recipe. Untrained staff can cause what's known as process drift, where things slowly but surely go out of spec. They might miss the early warning signs of equipment failure or misunderstand how to configure a load properly, all of which leads to inconsistent quality and a whole lot more scrap. Now, these inconsistencies don't just create scrap, they create a massive business risk. And that brings us to our second point, the high-stakes world of quality audits. In this arena, a lack of documented training isn't just an internal issue. It can threaten your entire business. Let's be real. Companies in this space live and die by accreditations, like NADCAP for aerospace or CQI-9 for automotive. These aren't just suggestions. They're non-negotiable quality requirements from your biggest customers. And a huge part of every single audit is proving your people are competent through documented training. If you can't provide that proof, the consequences are severe. You risk major nonconformances, loss of accreditation, and worst of all, losing your customer approval status. And what does that mean? It means you can no longer bid on new work, and your existing contracts are suddenly in jeopardy. Okay, beyond the money and the compliance risks, we have to talk about what is truly the highest stake of all: safety. We are not dealing with a simple assembly line here. This is a fundamentally hazardous environment. Just to put this into perspective, operators are working with furnaces that are running between 1,500 and 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They're handling high-pressure systems and flammable materials. This is an environment that absolutely demands expertise and respect. And accidents don't just happen out of nowhere. There's a chain of events. It usually starts when an untrained operator misses a warning sign. That leads to an improper action, all because they lack that formal safety training. The cost of one serious injury can easily surpass a decade's worth of training budgets for the entire staff. And finally, there's a cost that doesn't show up on any balance sheet but can be just as devastating: the impact it has on your company culture and your workforce. Because when you don't invest in your people, believe me, they notice. Look at this comparison. On one side, you have a culture of tribal knowledge, where information is hoarded by just a few people, leading to high turnover and constant reactive firefighting. But on the other side, when you invest in training, you create a culture of shared expertise, high retention, and proactive improvement, where your employees actually feel empowered and engaged. So, after looking at all these risks, the solution becomes incredibly clear. It's not about just spending more money. It's about making a strategic shift. It's about viewing your people not as a cost, but as your most critical asset, one that you have to invest in. And proper technical training isn't just showing someone a few buttons. It's a formal process. It's about ensuring every single person has the proven competence to manage the process correctly. It's how you systematically turn all those risks we just talked about into solid operational reliability. And the return on that investment? Oh, it's massive. You get safer operations, better quality, and lower costs. You start to breeze through audits. Customer confidence goes way up. You build a stronger, more stable workforce. And all of that leads directly to a more resilient and profitable business. Which brings us right back to where we started. This quote should make perfect sense now. When you actually factor in the risks of scrap, failed audits, safety incidents, and high turnover, the cost of not training is astronomically higher than the investment in doing it right. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. Take a hard look at your own operations. Is your approach to training a true investment in reliability, safety, and quality? Or is learning on the job silently becoming your biggest hidden cost?